Hello everyone. You probably clicked on this video because very controversial topic. Now, before you dislike this video into oblivion, hear me out. Warhammer is for everyone, just not the hobby itself is for everyone, honestly. Now, I'm sure you're asking, why should I listen to the opinion of some idiot on the internet? Well, you shouldn't, but take my dumb opinion with a grain of salt since it's entirely based on my experiences in the hobby. So let me explain. As most of you know, Warhammer is a hobby about overpriced plastic toy soldiers killing each other, ranging from space marines, orcs, space elves, space dwarves, soon, demons, space bugs, skeleton robots, giant robots, toaster nuns with guns, and GIF. Now I'm sure some of you noticed I said overpriced. That leads me into my first point. As many of us who actually play the game know, Warhammer will never be cheap. It will always be the tabletop game with the highest barrier to entry, unless you play one of the specialist games. Who am I kidding? Not many people even play the specialist games, myself included. Rise and Adeptus Titanicus. Good luck actually finding a lot of people who play those games because I know I can't, and Horus Heresy 2.0 doesn't count because a lot of people are actually playing that. Now, as most of us know, the most common point value games are 2,000 points. Now, tell me, what army do you want to play? Ah yes, you want to play that army? Cool. Now tell me how much it costs. The average 2,000 point Warhammer army is around $700 to $1,000 if you're lucky. Unless you play Orcs, Guard, or Mechanicus, then I'm sorry, but your wallet's gonna die. So for a comparison, let's talk about another game I play, Battletech. Its barrier to entry if you want some minis is around $25 to $40. That's it. That's really it. All the rules are available online for free. That's right, free. And also they don't give a shit if you use 3D prints. Hell, you could even use a jelly bean as a mech. As long as it's on a hex base, you're good. Now let's compare that barrier to entry to Warhammer 40k. A standard 2,000 points army averages $800 to $1,200. Codex, $60. Core rules, also $60. Warzone mission pack books, also $60. Chapter approved that updates every 3 to 4 months, $30. You see my point? And let's not forget about a new edition that comes out every 3 to 4 years, so you're doing that quite often. Which reinforces my point that this hobby isn't for everyone because the barrier to entry for this game is ridiculous. And this ridiculous barrier to entry actually pushes a lot of people away from wanting to try the game, which is not good for Warhammer in the long run. Now, Tabletop Simulator kind of helps with this by letting you try before you buy armies, but I mean, Tabletop Simulator is a beast of its own. But seriously, I think this is one of the biggest hurdles that makes Warhammer not for everyone. And I also intentionally left out Forge World because it's expensive. Also, it's been around 70 days and I still don't have my Moiraxes that I ordered a long time ago. Thanks, Forge World. That's besides the point because I really recommend if you want to try Warhammer, don't go down the Forge World rabbit hole like I did, or you might end up buying a Warlord Titan. Who am I kidding? It was worth it. I loved building that model. It's just I still have to paint it. I'll get around to it eventually, I promise. Which leads me to my next point of why Warhammer isn't for everybody. Many of us who are actually too deep in the hobby know that painting is a cornerstone of Warhammer. If you only buy GW paints, it can also get really expensive. Which is why I encourage you to branch out and try Vallejo and Army Painter, or even other paints. They're much cheaper and the paint doesn't have perceived obsolescence built into them. Because dropper bottles are better than paint pots. Now, the hardest part when starting an army is deciding how the f you're gonna paint it. And it's even harder if you play Space Marines because there's so many different Space Marine chapters. And not all of us are Golden Demon level painters, but that's just fine. We all start somewhere, and we can always improve our painting skills. Just don't compare yourself to others because hell, I'm 100% sure a lot of you are actually better painters than I ever am or will be, and I'm okay with that. Now, painting is not for everyone because of this complex of never being a good enough painter. This also stops people from wanting to try out Warhammer because they feel like they're not very good painters. But GW does actually have some pretty good guides on how to paint specific things. Hell, YouTube is a fucking goldmine for painting tutorials. And I have a huge bookmarks tab just for all the cool videos I find on YouTube. Now, the building hobby is obviously the easiest part. It's just painting is like a brick wall at times because it's hard to smash through it like the Kool-Aid Man. But when you do it, oh boy, you can go on a painting rampage. Because believe me, I've heard people complain about the models not being pre-assembled or painted. And let's not forget about the rules. Oh boy. There's a lot of rules since every Space Marine chapter, every Imperium faction, and every Xenos faction have their own unique rules, and it's up to your opponent to be honest. Now, I've never encountered this, but I have heard horror stories, and if you ever get that guy, never play with them ever again. They should be forever shunned from the Warhammer community, because nobody wants to play with it. I'm not finishing that sentence now that I think about it honestly. It also doesn't help that there can be stupid gimmicks that can screw someone over because, as we all know, the time spent painting a model is equal to 1/1000th of the time it takes for that model to get blasted off the table by some stupid gimmick. Because, believe me, if we find a stupid interaction, we will find it and we will abuse the ever-living shit out of it, like exploding sixes out the ass with Moiraxes, or maxing out in secondaries as a Dark Angels player. It also doesn't help that things are constantly being buffed, nerfed, or phased out, which can also piss a lot of people off and make them not want to play the game anymore because they need to buy more units just to stay competitive and also not lose all the time. Or even their favorite unit they just finished assembling or painting is hot garbage. Still honestly not over the fact that the Night Valiant is trash. But my god, it's such a cool model. Which also brings me up to another point. If you're teaching someone, don't be an ass and be sweaty and curb stomp them into the ground because you, that's right, you will be responsible for their first experience playing the game. And if it's a bad one, they will probably not want to play ever again. So if you are going to teach someone, make a shits and giggles list like mine, which is a lot of chaff and an Astraeus. Or if you have a Warhound Titan, just make it a deathmatch to see who falls first, the Titan or your opponent. Now these are just a few things I thought of, but Warhammer is for everyone, just the hobby itself is not for everyone. It's an overpriced, rules-bloated game that could be better if they actually play-tested stuff. Like how the f did the reviving of ATVs make it through the playtesting? Oh yeah, that's right, they barely playtest anything. But Warhammer is one of those games that has one of the friendliest communities out there. The creativity, the painting, the kit bashing, the animations, the guide videos. This is one of the communities that I hope will never change for the worse because of how inclusive and welcoming it is. Because honestly, we all just want to kick back after a long day, throw some dice, shit talk, paint, or just discuss our favorite hobby of overpriced plastic toy soldiers killing each other. If you made it this far, thanks everyone for watching. I would really appreciate it if you don't dislike this video into oblivion. Please. If you want to see more videos like this or elaborate posts disguised as videos, consider subscribing. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a metric ton of Horus Heresy models to magnetize. Woo, let's go. 350 plus magnets. My god, somebody help me.